What's up? How's it going? We're gonna go live for a little bit. I'm just gonna kind of talk a little bit about drawing in general and drawing tech, but drawing in general and drawing tech are pretty much the exact same thing. So I think you're really gonna like this. So let's go over that just for like 10 minutes or something like that. Nothing too long. Okay, so let's hop into this. I don't know why my screen seems so dim, but hopefully it looks okay on yours. I'm thinking of like anything robotic, right? People will get so scared at anything robot like. I think drawing robots is incredibly, I was going to say it's probably the easiest thing you can do, and this goes for like the head and the body, is learning your casual perspective. So if you know any of your like basic perspective, 1, 2, that's all you need. One and 2 point perspective. If you know that stuff, you're going to be able to draw like the body and the head and tech and stuff like that, most likely a lot better than your average person. So let's kind of go over some basic perspective and kind of how that works really quick. So rule number 1, I mean, I'll just strip it down real fast with basic perspective. So basic perspective, you are, really the point is that, if we have one object, let's just say one object is right here. Let's zoom in here. If we have one object right here, right, and we have another one right here, let's say we have that one right there. Let's just say they're one of the same. They're made of the same thing. They're, same measurements. If we know that, right? Which one of those is bigger? I mean, which one of those is closer to us, right? We always assume it's this one, right? But that has to do with like how big the object is. Like I said, if we know they're both the same size, we know this one is closer to us, just to kind of whittle it down to easy something, right? We know that's closer to us because it's bigger. There's just objects that are closer to us are bigger. And that's, I was going to say, just to keep it real basic, there's that. There is another thing going on though. So when we look at something like that, we're thinking of things within a box form because things shrink as they go into the distance, but they're not always shrinking in a like, I don't know. You want to know exactly how they're shrinking. So, for example, if you look at something like, so if you look at like a box in, let's look at this basic cube, right? Basic cube. Looking at this, right? We're right here. Let's just say we can see a little bit of sliver of the bottom right there, right? If we're looking at the sliver of the bottom. So let's look at just this cube right there, right? I want you to tell me, are we looking down on this cube or we're looking up at this cube based on this? Just like right now, we can tell, right? We're looking up at this cube. How do we know that? We know that because we're looking at this bottom part right here. We can see the bottom of it, and we cannot see the top, right? And if it's just a basic cube, we know that we'd be able to see that. If we're looking down on the cube, we'd be able to see the top of it, but we can't. We're looking up at it. So that's really important to look at what angle is going on, and that does relate to just very general perspective. So just knowing that. Then let's draw another cube real quick. Let's draw like the front face right here. So let's say we have that. And you want a cube maybe to go a little bit more. We're going to use perspective a little bit more right here. Maybe over here. So this cube's a little bit different than this cube, just a bit, because this cube, we made the back a little bit smaller. I don't know if you can tell. It's going to be kind of hard. Let's zoom in, okay? Let's zoom in real fast. How do I zoom in? Okay, let's zoom in. So right here, we're looking at these two cubes. The big difference is there is more perspective applied to this cube, right? Why is that? Because this line and this line right here, I'm trying to make them parallel. What does parallel mean? So this line and this line parallel. Parallel means I can run these two lines, right? I can run them into outer space, and they'll never touch. That's what parallel means. You know, I can just keep running these lines, and then like right here, these are parallel. This is parallel to that. This is parallel to that. I can run these up and down, and they'll never touch. They'll never intersect. But over here, so right here, these are parallel, but I want to make these right here. See this and this? I want those to touch somewhere way back in space. At some point, they're going to touch if I keep running those lines. Hypothetically, right? Hypothetically. Yeah, like if I just run that across. And so because of that, the back of this cube is going to look smaller compared to this one, where it's parallel. This is going to look kind of like, oh yeah. And so we're applying 1 point perspective because that's just 1 point. If you apply 2 point perspective, that's 1, and then you're applying that over here. Maybe these lines are not going to be parallel. I don't know if any of that makes sense. That's just basic perspective. If I did it too fast, let me know. But we kind of use that here on this robot. And I'm kind of looking at this guy and I'm thinking, okay, his chest is very boxy, but obviously shapes are coming off it. Is this going to be parallel, or am I going to shrink the back of him a little bit? Right? And will it make enough of a difference to have the viewer kind of like, you know what I mean? Will it make enough of a difference to the viewer that it would make any sense or not? That's kind of your prerogative or not. You can do extreme poses that way too. So if you have one character reaching out really hard, you know, you're going to have the hand in the face, you know, the hand's going to be really huge while the other one's not going to be. I'll go over, that's called overlapping though. We'll go over overlapping tomorrow. I'll give you like an extreme, tomorrow I'm going to give you an extreme perspective pose. But right now you just want to understand general perspective that, you know, things get smaller as they go back. And it sounds like right? It sounds duh. But the thing is, when there's you understand it like, you know, through conversation, but then understanding it visually and remembering it visually is shockingly, I wouldn't say it's hard, but some people have issues remembering it, which I understand because you're not used to remembering something visually, right? So that's kind of like where we're at right now. Let's go one more thing real quick. I want to go over the complexity issue. I just posted a video about this. There's areas of complexity and simplicity to like most design. So his shoulder, and that's almost always the case, like not always, but plenty of times, see this big open space here in design, big open space. And then over here's a little bit more complicated, right? Little smaller shapes. And the only reason right here, this looks like there's smaller shapes is because this shape is big. Like this is a wide open space because we judge things by contrast. Does that make sense? We judge things by so if this right here, if we took this and put it over here and it's as broken up, it's gonna probably look like a big pile of garbage. It's probably gonna look too complex. Not always, but it will look too complex. So ironically, doing less right here, showing less, is gonna make this look all clean in comparison to that. And it's going to make that look more complicated. Yeah, but that's a big thing. And try using that, by the way, anywhere. Use that, especially on your tech, especially on your, I was going to say a big one if you play, you know, Gears of War. If you play video games on armor, that's a big thing. They even take that into account like in fashion. So you have areas of, like I said, simplicity, complexity, and you're contrasting those at all times. You can make it more complex right here by... Don't forget to hit the like, by the way, if you can, like to send out the live a little bit further so it'll reach more people. Tomorrow's live, I'm going to take a little bit longer, I think. Tomorrow's I'm going to actually talk about overlapping, which is a concept I think a lot of people can use. We talk about like extreme perspective, like throwing your hand into the screen and trying to make it look that way. Those are really fun poses. And but see how I'm putting in more right here under the neck? I'm throwing in more complexity, and I can kind of I can push it really hard right here. Just keep throwing more. It's starting to break a little bit, so I actually want to throw this in here. Let me throw a little bit of a story on, because I want to end this with a positive note. I know for me, it was kind of like hard to... I put a lot of pressure on myself when I learned to draw in general. And when you do that, it's ironic because when you put so much pressure on yourself to do better and become a better artist and whatever, it ironically makes you worse. You just start, thinking it's this unreachable goal. This part of you inside will be like, you know what, I'm never gonna reach it. This stuff's too hard. You're putting like there's such pressure, such pressure. Where you see another artist and they're just getting it really fast because I think a lot of the stuff that you learn is usually when you're at play. That's the stuff you remember is when you're just fooling around, messing around with designs. That's a lot of stuff when you're actually having fun doing it. That is when you remember stuff and ironically your stuff starts looking better. When it's almost like when you let go of the result is when you start to actually you start to actually really begin to ascend and start to be like, oh wow, you're getting to the place that you like. And ironically, when you get to that place you arrived, you don't really care about being there anymore, which is crazy, right? The moment you don't care, it's the moment when you get it. It's really strange. But anyways, thanks so much. I appreciate it. That's the lesson for today. It's just a short thing about quick perspective to recap and a little bit about complexity and simplicity, which I'm going to stress all these things over and over and over again. The other thing I want to talk to you about is go pick up a sketchbook. I put a bunch of sketches of mine in a booklet over here in the store. Go pick one up when you have time. If you want to support, go pick one up. I only printed a certain amount of those. So yeah, that's kind of it. And I want to do another one later on. So thanks so much. I appreciate it. And I'll see you guys tomorrow, okay? Thanks so much, by the way, Stormy. Thank you so much, guys. Ah.